Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Canadian Shield. My name is Sterling. I'm your host. Pierre Poilievre made an announcement to the press today, and he came right out and called Jagmeet Singh to task. His entire statement was how Jagmeet Singh is the reason that this government is not calling an election. Jagmeet Singh is the reason that the federal Liberals didn't have to remove Freeland, didn't have to remove Trudeau, didn't have to remove Guilbeault, didn't have to change Anand. No ministers changed at all, right, in this latest caucus that they had, because they don't have to, because Jagmeet Singh is going to hold them in power so they can do whatever they want, whenever they want. Nobody can stop them. Nobody can get in the way. They don't have to worry about any single solitary consequences. Now, this was basically the bulk of his the gist of his release to the press. And the press came back, completely ignored that, right? I mean, he literally stopped in the middle of it, and he sent a direct message out over the airwaves to Jagmeet Singh. And the press ignored it all and decided that they were going to talk about some of these issues that they think will swing away votes away from the Conservatives, right? And at one point, one of these French reporters tried to just talk right over him. And Pierre Poilievre put him right in his place. Before I get into it, I would encourage you to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this channel with all of your socials. Like this video. I'm trying to grow this channel. I have memberships if you wish to support the channel further. Like I said, the reporter from Quebec was just the rudest kind. The same that you always see. These far left reporters who think that you got to give them respect while they don't give you any respect. While they sit there and they demand that you respect some tradition that they themselves don't care about. So he was trying to pin him into a corner, and I'm going to explain to you why that is once I get through letting him talk. Now, it's in French, so the translator, though, is pretty accurate, and the gist of it you'll see.
Contraceptive gratuite et l'insuline presque gratuite. Pilule, insuline, est-ce que vous allez garder ces programmes en place?
We'll be keeping the medical programs for insulin and contraceptives. As far as I know, these programs are not really operative.
Ils font des promesses.
There are a lot of promises in the air.
Excusez-moi, monsieur, est-ce que je
Excuse me, might I provide the answer before you interrupt?
Vous allez voir
Yes.
la plateforme électorale.
You'll see our election platform that I'll be tabling as soon as elections are called. But for now, all we have from them are promises. Promises.
Promesses des libéraux,
Promises from the Liberals, the Bloc,
des néo-démocrates.
and the New Democrats.
S'ils dépensent plus,
That if they spend more money today,
cadeau pour tout le monde.
there'll be
Ils ont déjà promis, ils ont
gifts
déjà
for everybody. They already promised.
Non, je ne vous permets pas de m'interrompre.
No, please do not interrupt. I will finish off my answer if you don't mind. Thank you.
Ça n'existe pas encore.
There is no program operating right now.
Combien de personnes ont reçu
How many
ça?
people have received any of this insulin?
Combien?
Garder, oui ou non?
Are you going to keep the programs, yes or no? You keep the programs, yes or no? How many people are already benefiting from it? How many? How many? How many?
Vous voulez
You
pas
don't want to
répondre
answer?
non plus parce
You
que
don't want to answer either.
je ne peux pas répondre que si vous m'interrompez.
You keep interrupting me. Hard to answer.
Oui, que vous avez posé une
You have
fausse
said that
question
you're answering a false question.
pour laquelle vous
And the
l'avez
reason
avoué,
for which
c'est
you admitted that it's a false question is because when I asked you how many people have already been covered by the program,
parce que vous pouvez pas répondre.
you
parce
can't
que la
answer
réponse est
because the answer is probably none.
Je vais juste
I finish off here.
compléter ma phrase. On ne peut pas garder quelque chose qui n'existe
You
pas.
can't
C'est pas ma réponse,
keep
c'est
something
ma
that doesn't yet exist. There's my answer. Thank you.
Man, did he ever kick the... He beat that guy. Even in French, Pierre Poilievre can destroy the press. Now, what are we looking at here? We're looking at another far-left individual who is desperate to hold on to his job because he knows that the gaslighting he's been giving to the Canadian people can't be sustained if the funding doesn't come out of the federal government. Like if Justin Trudeau and the Liberals are not buying his newspaper, his radio, his website, if they're not paying for every word of positive information, then nobody is going to listen to this person, is not going to earn any money, and he'll be out of work. So they try to get Pierre Poilievre to say yes or no answers, while they themselves won't answer yes or no answers, while the Liberals never answer a question either way, yes or no. They never give a straight answer at all. I think Poilievre's answer was pretty direct. How many people have benefited from this insulin so far? None. Now, I'll be honest with you. I think that there's promise. There's probably something good to think about in this. Now, they say to me, oh, it's dentures, it's birth control, and it's insulin. And I think in my mind, okay, insulin, absolutely 100% I agree with. Why? Because if a person doesn't get insulin, they could die. This isn't just a normal situation. And now I don't profess to know the ins and outs of diabetes, so don't come at me. But I do understand that if you don't have your insulin, you could end up in a bad way. That much I know. So that really makes sense to me that should be covered. Now, I'm hearing that the dentures aren't really covered anyway, that they're saying one thing, they're sending the government a bill, and you're still paying the bill yourself. So I don't know what the situation is there, though I suppose I could look into it a little more deeply now that we're coming back into the fall session, because we're going to be hearing a lot about it. That's all the Liberals are going to say through question period. That's all you're going to hear. Daycare, dentures, school food program, GDP, daycare, it's going to be so mundane. However, birth control is not necessary. And you have to appreciate the reason that they're saying birth control, right? I mean, birth control has been available in the West for 50, 60, 70 years. It's the reason that the Western culture was able to get women out of the kitchen, because they could stop having children at a certain amount of time. However, many of the people that are coming here, they may not agree with that. It's not like they have that running around, say, many of the countries that come here. Many of the places in the world do not have birth control. So what they're really trying to do is sway a vote from a certain demographic. Because if a man and a wife are together and they don't want to have a baby, they won't have that baby. But if the man has one opinion and the woman has a different opinion, and she can now go to the doctor, pharmacist, whatever it may be, and get this prescription for the pill without ever letting her husband or significant other know, that is something that is now the government interfering in your relationship. That is the government standing in the way of communication. You can't tell me that socially and culturally this conversation should be had between this culture on the one hand, but on the other hand, the government is going to give people the means to avoid having the discussion. That's my problem with birth control. Not to mention that long-term effects of birth control are pretty strong. Now, if you're a woman and you're out there listening to this, appreciate that what the birth control pill does is it makes your body believe you are pregnant. It produces the hormone in your body that tells your body you're pregnant. And so the process of, the female reproductive system doesn't trigger, because the body is like, oh no, we're already good. We're good. We'll just sit tight, which is why it can create a lot of problems, and which is why they have to find, the different brands and all that kind of stuff. Having said all of that, I still don't believe that the government or the taxpayers should be buying birth control. I don't care if you're in a relationship where you don't want to have any children. I feel for you, but that speaks to your relationship, not to my necessity to buy those. That's a problem that is in your home. That is a problem in your culture. That is a problem that should be addressed instead of avoided. However, I don't see any issue with paying for insulin. I don't think that's a problem at all. I really feel like, especially if you're looking at like a single mother with a child who might be diabetic and need this insulin or something, 100, a million, 1,000 examples. This is just good business. And if we're paying for crack and heroin, we might as well be paying for insulin. I would rather pay for insulin than to pay for any of the hard drugs that the Canadian taxpayer picks up. Now, having said all of that, what we saw this reporter do was try to get Pierre Poilievre to say yes or no. Right? No nuance, no explanation, nothing. Because then he can run around saying, oh, Poilievre's going to cancel this, Poilievre's going to cancel this, Poilievre's, and try to stoke fear and division, which is all the left likes to do. He's not trying to get to the bottom of the problem. He's not trying to understand so that he can take that message and pass it back to the people that listen to him and make it comprehensive in a way that he can understand. Can understand. He just wants to be able to go to his Twitter feed and say, Poilievre says all of this, be terrified and run like the wind. Because that's how the far left participates in politics. They don't participate. They attempt to terrify. They're not trying to make what's best. They're only trying to do what's best for them. But Pierre Poilievre knows that. He played that. He didn't play the guy, but he put that guy right in his place, sentence after sentence. The guy was talking over him. I mean, you know, you think of the contrast when Justin Trudeau or any of the Liberals talk to the press, there's not a sound, not a single pushback from the reporters. Pierre Poilievre can't even get started on an answer because they don't like the way they know where the answer's going. They don't want to hear it, so they try to interrupt that. They try to interfere with that. And then they wonder why nobody listens to them. Then they wonder why their websites and their media companies can't get a following. They just assume the rest of us are too stunned to see right through them, to understand exactly what they're doing. They really believe that. Anyway, I just like to point out that he did it in French, and good for him. I'm going to wrap here. Give this video a thumbs up. I want to thank y'all for listening. I'll talk to you next time.